Hey, welcome back everyone. Today I have just a single story, but I promise it's a good story. It's a story about a neighbor that gets swatted after pirating the radios in his area, and you will not want to miss the ending. Stick around and hope you enjoy. Their neighbors make our lives hell. Return the favor by getting them raided. As we found out that we'd be expecting not one, but two kids, we knew we had to move to a real house with more space. At the time, we were still living in a one-bedroom studio, one up from the ground floor, with its only entrance being a metal fire escape. Not ideal for a pregnant woman, let alone to live with two small babies. So we found a privately leased house that was newly renovated and had all the rooms and a large garden we were looking for. Signed the lease and immediately collected the keys. As the owner drove off, the woman next door comes up to me, immediately demanding we can't make noise before noon as her BF works nights and sleeps in, and a whole bunch of other do's and don'ts. So right off the bat we knew that trouble was incoming. As the house was fully renovated and not much had to be done, we were like, don't poke the bear, we'll do things that make noise after noon. We moved in after 2 weeks and the whole street was warm and welcoming. My wife was almost due giving birth to my twin daughters and some offered help if we needed help with anything. Real kind people. They also told us about our neighbors. Nobody liked them, he was a big bully and got into arguments with everybody. They were also known as radio pirates, as in illegal broadcasting on radio with old Dutch bangers. This music is just terror on your ears and possibly used on terrorists on black sites. We went alongside them partying Thursday through Sunday till 5 in the morning, loud music, constant yelling, always drunken, etc. Really something to look forward to when moving in, certainly with 2 babies on the way. The partying began immediately, full blast. Real classy for someone demanding to be quiet when douchebag needs his beauty sleep. Then one day, my father-in-law came to put new grass in. He has his trailer parked at the back of our houses, which is public space. Not according to him though, no, that exact spot where the trailer, full with grass studs, quite heavy stuff, was parked, was his spot, and we had to move the trailer. Not going to happen, as I was not planning to walk all the way around the house with the sods. He gets angry right away and demanded me to move it. I told him to go F himself. I was done with him already then and there. I'm also a ginger, so besides having no soul, I do have a temper which is always in check until you provoke me repeatedly. Anyone who knows me will tell you that you really had to make an effort for that to happen. We went on working and the end of the day comes when my father-in-law wants to leave. Hooks up to the trailer and bam! There was douchebag telling him off, yelling it's his spot and he better not do that again or else. Mess with me all you want, I can handle it. But what you don't do is threaten my family. I ran outside and told him in no uncertain terms to back off or he'll be the sorry one. Total bluff on my side, yes, I have that temper but I'm not impressively built and I have no hidden fighting skills, but I do fight dirty. He backs off, father-in-law leaves, and I go inside where I find my wife crying. She got scared of him maybe doing something to her father and or me, and this is something we don't need right now. Combine it with hormones from being pregnant and you can paint that picture. So now I'm even more pissed, but I had to promise not to act on anything. I won't dare. Not yet, anyway. Time went on without any real incident, and then came the time my wife goes into labor. It didn't go smoothly and ended up having to deliver with a C-section, because daughter 2 was almost strangled by the
umbilical cord.
We had to stay 3 excruciating nights due to a lot of things. Finally we got to go home. Family had put a giant sign in our front yard welcoming the babies. The sign was already up for a few days prior to coming home, so our friendly neighbors definitely knew about it. But did they give a flying F? No, they did not. From the first night on, they started the party and broad blasted their terror music. They started at noon and continued until 5 or 6 in the morning. Classy. They also kept going for days, so it wasn't just Thursday through Sunday, it was all week long and the next. So we were broken. Party slept, and one of our daughters suffered from heavy cramps and combined with all the noise and her parents at the end of their wits, so she cried a lot. And then I just had it. I researched some things on radio pirates, the laws and regulation or this large 5 meter plus antenna in his backyard, which was illegal in itself. But he used it to illegally broadcast on radio, which meant he had a lot of equipment to do so, which was even more illegal and can get you jailed. But at the very least, they could seize it and fine him big time, in the 10k to 45k area. Holy, 10k to 45k, that sounds like a lot. Like, I don't know about fines or anything, but it just seems like a bit too much, I don't know. Now, I did not immediately turn him in, but instead we were looking for another house to lease first. This because I figured it wouldn't sit well with him, and having a wife and 2 babies in the house alone during the day because I had to go to work. I hear you guys thinking, why not involve the police? Well, they are utterly useless in cases like this. We once called and what they did disturbs me to this day. They rang at their doorbell and immediately stated off by saying we called them about the noise complaints. Yes, you read that right. No protection or whatsoever. Just blatantly told them we were the reason they're there. Told them to keep it down and that was it. They didn't even follow up with us or anything. As you can guess, douchebag now was even more pissed and told me the next day, or yelled over the fence actually, that separates our backyard, that I really should not do that again. A threat yet again, of which I told the police. I didn't report it the first time as I chalked it up to alpha male and the heat of the moment, but without witnesses to corroborate, nothing could be done. Some days later, I walked out of the front door and he just stepped out of his car. Came up to me demanding I cut back some of our ivy that grew on the side of the fence because it tangled up in his big ass antenna. He would be gone for some hours and I could come into his garden to cut back the ivy that grew through on their side. But then a light bulb went on above my head. I told him politely that I would do that immediately. Why? Because that gave me the opportunity to find out the make and model of this antenna, to ascertain its signal strength, where the cables go exactly, and what kind of cables they were. Again, to know the signal strength it handled. Also, it gave me a good view on the equipment he had through the window, so I could snap some photos of it. This was the icing on the cake, because in the meantime, we did manage to find a new home and already had signed the lease, so we would be gone in 2 weeks. Luckily, we only had to paint some walls for the girls' room and furthermore just pack up our things and moved into the other house. So after I trimmed the ivy and collected my evidence, I went online that night to find out the proper channels to report a broadcast pirate, and which entity was tasked with catching said pirate. It turned out I had to call the telecom agency but also the police. I wasn't too happy with the latter, but I remember that I have a nephew. I remember I have a nephew that works for the police. Officially, his area was immigration, but he knew enough colleagues that could help us, and we could trust not to confront them again saying I was the one that sent them. That was extremely important for our safety when doing what I was doing. So I gave both the agency and the police all the evidence I collected, pointed them to the frequencies he pirated so they could listen in. Then they started a neighborhood investigation, which wasn't really necessary, but this was to cover our bums to make it look he got caught by accident because there was an active investigation in our area. You never know what they can learn from legal documents and such. We asked them to wait with the raid. Yes, they raid pirates' houses, preferably in the early hours of the day because of his beauty sleep rendering him incapable of fleeing or hiding evidence, etc. We moved 2 weeks later and they raided him 2 days after we moved. All of his equipment, computers, radios, cell phones and his cars were seized. He left in cuffs, his wife or girlfriend did too, for making a big scene and trying to interfere. All of which was live reported to me by one of my ex-neighbors who were equally ecstatic about this. It turned out this wasn't the first time he got caught, but rather his 3rd time. His car had no insurance on it, and his MOT failed. This would normally have no big consequence because he didn't drive it while raided. But they had the guy surveilled on for a week, and that definitely meant he was seen driving it, while not having insurance and a valid MOT. He was fined somewhere around 30k euros, went to jail for 12 weeks and everything seized was destroyed except the car. His GF had to do 40 some hours of community service. They had to sell the house, which made the neighbors very happy as they too were over and done with them. Like I said, I do fight, but very dirty. You have to really make an effort for me to get to that point. They did and suffered. Over a year later, when shopping groceries, I encountered them. With the foulest of looks, if looks could kill, I'd be a smoldering heap of ash. But nothing more than that. Like, okay, holy, I'm just saying, you had this guy, your neighbor, yeah, he wasn't a good neighbor, he was like really annoying. Your reaction to that, like, I completely understand you, like, you have babies, you're stressed out by the babies are getting irritated and won't sleep properly, like, because of your neighbors, and you just got him raided, you got him swatted by the SWAT team. Like, imagine living next to this neighbor that has been probably for years playing music in the middle of the night and disturbing the silence for everyone, making everyone unable to sleep, and finally just seeing him get swatted. Like, what a relief that would feel like. But a great story, definitely deserves the upwards. I'm afraid, folks, but that's all for today. Hope you enjoyed and have a great rest of your day. Peace.